want to talk a little bit about some of the reasons why women, in our research and our statistics, are about 10 to 20 times less likely than a man to sign up to participate, particularly as a single woman, in a sacred sexuality event. First of all, on a very physical level, it's more vulnerable, and in some ways the gift and the giving is more big when one gives of oneself, when one surrenders one's body to be entered, and that's reflected not only in the position. You know, a woman is often below, a man is on top, so there is a surrendering of space to affect me that's very vulnerable. But there's also the possibility it's easier for a woman to contract disease than it is for a man. It is often more impactful. A woman has more nerve endings and is often, thanks to our societal conditioning, more emotionally linked to her body. So this is not necessarily just a physical experience. It's a very deeply emotional experience, and it's hard to say when one opens up what's going to be affected, how one's going to feel. But there's a probability that the feeling will be deep. There's also the fact that women are by nature told they should be, and to some degree given the wider permission to feel, are more emotional, more empathic, which means that it's hard for some women to be around a man in his desperation, in his need for validation, in his need for reassurance, in his need for acceptance, for looking good, for feeling good, and to say, no, I don't feel like it. I'm going to take care of me and feel great about that. There's this built-in need and instinct that our society programs to please. And so the best protection from that programming is actually not to be in a situation where there's likely to be focused attention on me, the woman. Please me, tell me I'm good enough, tell me I'm acceptable. Because that's a very tense, it's a very uncomfortable weight to bear, to know that this man may not feel good about himself, may feel a sense of shame, may feel a sense of depression, because I say, no, I don't feel like it. It's a lot to carry. One other thing that a woman needs to deal with in this culture that many men do not is the whole slut, bad girl, good girl mix of confusing messages. On the one hand, you're tight, you're frigid, you know, you're no good. There's that whole series of messages. But on the other hand, whereas a man is considered sexy and virile and accomplished and to be proud for having more than one sexual partner, for being well sexed in various ways, for having a lot of sex, a woman on the one hand gets messages that, gee, you're cool, you're hot, but on the other hand, there's this weird invisible line where you're a slut, you sleep around. Women don't like you because you're one of those people that plays into men's lusts, and you're no good, or you're a relationship stealer. Now, on the other hand, men may see you as an object of lust, but because of the split in our culture between sexuality and spirituality, lust and beautiful sexual energy and expression is often associated with something less than. I would love to fuck you, I would love to be dirty with you, but I don't want to marry you if that's who you are. So there's this very big, painful message. And then finally, women who are often more interested in an emotional connection, because that's a very real part of who they are, and for many men that's been clipped and butchered off by the culture at a young age. Women who are interested in that deep emotional connection, what often happens during sex is men are actually very emotional, although many are unaware of it. Sex has this huge impact. It begins to create the chemicals in which it's easy to fall in love, in which it's easy to need. And men are told that that's shameful, that that's weak. It's weak to feel, it's weak to need. And so men compensate in the other direction, often very instinctively, where precisely when they start feeling those deep and opening feelings coming forth, that's when they cut off and go to judgment as an escape, precisely because the experience is so tense. You're just a slut, that was just sex. Quick, let me escape now before more of my vulnerability comes forth and perhaps get shamed by the woman, or get shamed by themselves, the inner voices, or the culture. But again, for the woman, they often experience just the quick cutoff that sex actually leads to a rapid disconnection. So all of that is a lot of painful information, painful history to carry, and naturally accounts for why women may sign up to an event like this 10 to 20 times less than a man, and feel, even when they do, more ambivalent, more cautious. What can be done about this is bonding together as women, forming a bit more of a support group and alliance, but also just a deep compassion, a deep tenderness for this very difficult role of being a profoundly sacred, a profoundly beautiful, a deeply impacted sexual being. Because on the plus side, women experience and enjoy great sex more than men. They have more nerve endings. It's easier for many women to have multiple orgasms. It's easier for that pleasure to go through the whole body. It's not just the genital area, it's the breasts, it's the sensuality of the skin. There's that wonderful, sacred, blissful experience of being able to surrender and let something beautiful come in. And that's the positive side, that when the environment is created in a sacred and safe way, when there's compassion and understanding for the many hurdles that a woman has to go through in herself and in a culture to claim that powerful sexuality, that's when the flip side comes in. That's when the true beauty of feminine sexuality comes and blesses not only you and us as the women, but all of us. So namaste for the beauty and the divinity in all our human sexuality.